everybody. We are glad to be here. We have our co-host. It's the second Tuesday in the month again, and we bring her on. She was first Tuesday last month. We just had so much to talk about and everything, because last month is mental health, minority mental health month, and this month, it's a lot going on this month, but I had to bring her on today because we have a litany of things to talk about today. I'm Dr. Sim, host of the Dr. Sim Daily Show. This is my co-host, the one, the only, the queen of Atlanta, Georgia, y'all, by way of, where you from, Danny? Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yeah, by way of Tennessee. She's the queen of Atlanta, y'all. Hey, Danny Cook. How you doing, Danny?
I'm good. You know, had a lot going on, as always. And balancing, you know, grandbabies are here and that sort of thing. And, you know, I'm just rocking it all out. And of course, still attempting to have meaningful conversations about delicate issues.
Amen. Well, let's kind of go through the back door, because I love the last thing we kind of text to kind of lay out what we want to talk about. And one of the things you said that I really like is protecting your energy and staying informed and not getting overwhelmed. So how do you do that? How do you stay, you know, being a content creator, being who you are, you have to stay abreast of everything and not get overwhelmed. So how do you do it?
So I think, well, there's two sides to it. So first, I think it's really important for people to have a toolbox. That's what I call it. I call it, what's in your toolbox? What are the things that you use to kind of get you centered, grounded, and that sort of thing? And so it's important for people to have those items and know what they are. So for me, they are definitely reading, meditation, music, exercise, those types of things. My grandbabies are great for kind of bringing me back to reality and that sort of thing. But on a regular basis, the key, in my opinion, comes from the Four Agreements.
Right.
So Don Miguel Ruiz, I love this book. I first read it in 2013, 2012, 2013.
Right.
And it literally has changed my life. So the second agreement says, don't take anything personal.
That's right.
So I'll give you an example. I put up a post the other day around Brittney Griner and Audrey Lorber, and it wasn't about racial disparities, but people saw a black woman and a white woman and assumed that was the content or the crux of my message, which it most certainly was not.
Right.
And but what I did want to point out was, you know, getting people to really take a look and see, okay, so why are you viewing things? Why are you reacting to things the way you are, right?
Right.
And a lot of people don't want to do that, because then you have to assess your own implicit bias. You have to kind of get real with your own prejudices, which we all have. So anyway, and you know, there were some, and it's funny because the people who were the most angry at me and mean to me in the comments were white males.
Really?
It was "fuck you, Danny," and "da da da, Danny," and "da da da," like literally.
So why would they get mad at you?
Well, you know, it doesn't matter. But here's the thing. So you asked me, how do I stay cool? Because here's the thing. Those people don't know me. Right. And what I understand is that their reaction to my post literally has nothing to do with me. It is simply about them. I struck a nerve.
Right.
There was something in my messaging that made that individual get very, very defensive. And we know the best defense is a good offense.
That's right.
And so one of the ways that I protect my energy is to remember that people's reactions to what I say is not about me. The other thing that I do is when it comes to wanting to stay abreast,
that's good,
to not get into an extreme. So that's the key.
Oh, that's good.
Extremism is the end to your energy. Let me just be clear. Extremism is the end to your energy. So I can become abreast. I can stay informed. I can stay knowledgeable about what's happening.
That's good.
I can watch bits and pieces of different things, but to saturate myself with it, to go to that extreme, means that I'm going to lose my balance, because anytime you're in an extreme in anything, you lose balance. And so it is necessary for life.
That's good. Well, good morning again, everybody. Teresa's here. Miss Vanessa is here. We're here with Danny, kind of talking about current events. And that's a good segue into the top. Well, this became top above this, but let's start with Brittney Griner. What's your take on? Okay, my take is simply, and I think, again, I heard somebody say the other day, she may be a political pawn on Russia's side of the house, but whatever. We know the rules and regulations of every country we enter. And if they have an issue with drug, and we can put that in air quotes, you have to abide by the laws of the land, per se. And so that kind of put her behind the eight ball, if you will. But I'm sure this has not been the first time she's carried something, if you will. But what's your take on it?
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever gone to get on a flight and all of a sudden realized that you're still carrying your water bottle when you're getting ready to go through TSA? Have you ever done that?
I won't talk about the substance, but yes. To answer your question, yes.
Okay. Have you ever packed a cologne and realized it was 6 ounces instead of 3?
Yep.
Okay. So when we talk about knowing the rules and regulations, I think that we forget the fact that we are all human beings and people make mistakes.
Right.
She did not come. She was over there to play ball for months.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
She was not carrying enough vape cartridges for the whole damn time she was going to be there. So obviously that would suggest her intent was not to violate Russian law.
That's a good point.
Now imagine being an NBA player, a WNBA player, and you have, how many bags do you think you have to pack and travel?
Ooh,
like I've dated a professional athlete. Okay. I know how many bags. I've seen how many bags, right? So do you check every compartment of every single bag that you go to pack and travel with, or do you just grab a bag and get on the plane?
That not real. No, ma'am.
Okay, so let's just start right there. Okay, we can know the rules and still be human beings. That's number one. Yeah. Because I don't think, based on the evidence, there's nothing clear that says she intended to snub her nose up at Russian law. That was not the intent. Right. Now, I'll tell you the case where there was intent, okay? So Mark Fogel, that's the white male teacher that everybody is up in arms about now. Right. Who he was arrested and got 14 years in 2021 in Russia. Right. And that's where he's at. And his family's like, oh, well, the U.S. has forgotten about him. Well, let me just share with you the difference. Come on. Mark and Brittney were both going there for work. Mark has been overseas and abroad for a long time. He and his wife have worked in an elite Russian school. Like the tuition for the school is $34,000 a year, and it's K through 12. Right. So he's over there to make as much money as can. I ain't got no problem with that. Do your thing, Mark. Right. But what Mark did was, when Mark went to go back to Russia for this last year abroad, they ended up flying into a Russian airport that they usually don't go to that had more security. Oh. And Mark had, I want you just to see the difference. Mark had 14 vape cartridges stuck in his shoes with cannabis oil. What? And he had several cannabis buds hidden in his contact lens case. Wow. Now, do you see the difference? One person obviously packed a bag with intent to hide my stuff. Listen, if I'm putting my weed in the contact lens case, I know I'm not supposed to have it, and I know I have it.
And oh, by the way, we have to make this emergency stop. And I think he's like, damn.
So I'm just saying. Right. So this is what I'm talking about. So when we talk about Brittney, do we know, as Black and brown people, we have to move differently than other people? We do. That also does not mean that we don't get to be human and simply just make mistakes. It doesn't mean that we don't get to grab the wrong bag and forget that there's a vape card. It doesn't mean that. This child had less than 1 gram.
I know you're right. It was
cannabis oil.
Nothing. Basically nothing. In the whole scheme of things, nothing.
I think what people have to do is people have to, number one, get out of their ego and stop wanting to make themselves feel superior, because that's what everybody wants to do, right? Well, she do the laws. She whatever. Well, listen, your ass knows the speed limit when you drive down the street, but you still speed, don't you? I'm just saying there are so many things. People love to judge other people, and I tell you what, when you do that, it's a good point. Slope because do you want to be judged by the same measure that you are judging other people?
That you come on Matthew chapter 7.
Do you not, you know they don't think the heathen knows scripture. They think I don't know.
So Danny, I was thinking about this last night, and I was talking to some guys who are getting ready for a show tonight. There's no grace in the law. Now, the Russian authorities could have simply nodded their head and gave her a pass, but there's no grace in the law. And you gave 2 great examples. One that knew what they were doing in Mark, and Brittney is just a victim of circumstances.
Well, I don't know that she was a victim of circumstance. I think that Brittney was absolutely targeted. I mean, that's just my opinion. Okay. Because they want their merchant of death, and they have wanted him for a while. And so that's what the gentleman's name is, the prisoner swap that we are debating. His name is Victor, whatever his last name is. Yeah. But he's known as the merchant of death. That's right. So I think that Russia has been playing this game for a minute. They always do. They always are. But so when you say there's no grace in the law in and of itself is nothing without human beings to enforce it.
True.
So in order for there to be grace in the law, there would need to be grace within us. So if you are not finding grace in the law, this is why I say all the time, you can change the system, you can change the laws, but if you don't change the hearts and minds of the people that enforce the laws, that make the laws, that uphold the laws, then it doesn't matter.
That's good. That's good, Danny. That's good.
So that's just like you see, there's a judge that's famous. I think he's in like Providence or somewhere like that. He's an older gentleman. And he has like this traffic court. It's like a small court, but people come before him all the time because they've had unpaid parking tickets or because they got a ticket or they got booted.
Yeah.
And he asks them about their life and their circumstances.
Yeah, I know about that too.
He gives them grace. When he sees people that are trying, and that's not always a free pass. Sometimes it's half knocked off. Sometimes it's, we're going to throw these out, but keep these. And that's the thing. We have this idea that punishment is how we teach people lessons, and it is absolutely not.
That is, Danny,
a beating is not. A beating has never made someone feel better about themselves, edified them, or lifted them up. Never. It's why our penal system does not work. That's
Danny, that's a great segue into Breonna Taylor. That has been added to our list. And there's so much, guys, there's so much we want to talk about. Teresa just giving you high five. She's saying, amen, sister. Teresa loves you.
She knows I'm holding space for her. She and her husband both have COVID right now.
Okay, praying for you, Teresa.
Yeah.
Breonna Taylor, you brought out something that everybody's glossing over. You brought out a great point with Breonna Taylor. Now, and we kind of talked real quick pre-show, and I was all excited. Breonna Taylor, I said, justice takes time. And you like, wait a minute, Dr. Sam. Define
what justice you talk about?
What justice you talking about? And you brought out a great point, Danny. You brought out a great point. You said, wait a minute, Dr. Sims. They have not been charged with murder.
No, they are not charged with murder. They are federal crimes. They are federal crimes for civil rights violations, for excessive use of force, for obstruction offenses, and that types of thing. This is not a crime about killing Breonna Taylor. These are federal crimes. Because if you remember, they got off on the state crimes. So this is federal crimes for something entirely different. Okay.
Wow.
So I think that people have to understand that it depends on what your definition of justice is.
Wow.
And what that looks like. And so, and now here's what I will say on behalf of in relation to the federal side of things. So murder is it's a state statute. It's a law, right? Because they didn't cross lines, like, you know what I'm saying? So for me, what I look at is at least at a minimum, the DOJ is finding some charges to have some sort of accountability. I would not call it justice. I would call it a measure of accountability. And that we're grateful that there's something, right? Because previously there's been nothing.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and when you talk about Ahmad Aubrey's case, so when we talk about the McMichaels and all of that, and yes, we are thrilled at life sentences state, and we are thrilled at life sentences federal. Great. However, we cannot forget that they almost got away with that shit for months and months and months. Listen, the DA wasn't going to press charges, not the first DA and not the second DA, because they were in collusion together. So because of the political corruption between the DA and George McMichael, the dad that used to work for the DA, right? Because of those relationships and the corruption within the department, the legal system, not just law enforcement, right? But we are now talking about like prosecutor involvement.
Yeah.
So the only reason, so listen at where we are. We are here because they were so privileged in their mindset.
That's right.
They thought the video would exonerate them.
That's exactly
right. So that's how the video got out. The video got out because Mr. McMichael did an interview and thought that, this video would exonerate him. Everybody would see this big, scary black man. And in reality, it invited the GBI in, and it was a completely different set of circumstances.
That's
so again, I don't think in reference to Ahmad Aubrey or in reference to Breonna Taylor, neither of those did time bring justice.
Wow.
Time brought accountability. Justice for me, when it comes to Ahmad Aubrey, would definitely involve the prosecutors. It would involve the police officers. not just the McMichaels. It would involve like, see what I'm saying?
So
these
in your eyes, those three guys are just scapegoats.
No, hell no, they're not scapegoats. Nope, they are not scapegoats.
Okay.
No, put them away and lock the key. I'm fine with that.
You're good with that.
What I'm saying is, okay, so let's just say that there are, in the Ahmad Aubrey case, in my eyes, you have George and Travis McMichael, you have Roddy Bryan.
That's right.
Those are the three, right?
Right.
In addition to that, though, you have the first female prosecutor.
That's right.
You have the second male prosecutor from another county over, which, by the way, that male prosecutor's son worked for the female prosecutor. So you have a conflict of interest there.
Wow.
That people aren't talking about. And then you have the police officers that were on the scene that allowed the McMichaels, that didn't take them into custody, that stood over Ahmad Aubrey as he died.
That's right.
Like, you had like at least one or two police officers that were relaying messages. You had a police officer that was actually like messaging back and forth back in December with the McMichaels. And so for me, justice would be, let's have something happen with all of these people.
That's 7 people.
I'm not saying jail time or whatever, but what I'm saying is you got halfway there. You got halfway there. You got about 3 or 4 other people that need to be held accountable for whatever actions they played in where we are.
Yeah. What?
That would be justice.
Okay. So the FBI raids Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel about that? Everybody's excited about that. Oh, but still, okay, you can raid something.
Well,
come on.
For historical significance, let me bring this into context.
Okay.
So do you know what happened on August 8th, 1974?
What happened? I was 8 years old.
Shit, I was 1. Richard Nixon resigned.
That's exactly right. That's right. Watergate.
Yeah, he resigned on the same day that the FBI raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago. So that for me, I just was like, can I take that as a sign, maybe?
Wow.
Who knows? But what I do find interesting is the far right, if I could use that word loosely. I hate terms like that.
Right.
But what's interesting has been the reaction of those people to the FBI.
Right.
So, for example, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she actually put up on Twitter, defund the FBI. Now, wait a minute, girl. You was all back the blue in 2020. You was back the blue in 2020.
Blue lives matter. Blue lives matter.
Listen, when it comes to January 6th, them Capitol Police, you wasn't trying to back them folk. And when it comes to Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate being raided, right? It's like defund the FBI. Let me just tell you, here's what I think is, so people can, the same way I feel about this country sometimes is the way I feel about the media. I have a love-hate relationship with the media because sometimes they get it so right and sometimes they get it so wrong.
Right.
But one of the things that I think the January 6th committee did was use media effectively.
Okay.
By having the January 6th hearings publicly, bless you.
Thank you.
It put the DOJ and subsequently the federal government in a precarious position to not be able to turn a blind eye. Now, do I know what's going to come of it all in the end? Bless you. No, of course not. My name is not Miss Cleo. You know what I mean? I can't foresee what's going to happen. What I will say is that in my mind, I imagine the conversations that took place leading up to that decision. Can you imagine the conversations and the debate when they weighed the consequences of raiding his estate?
Should we or should we not?
Oh my gosh, you know that there were a bajillion people in the room. You know that they were analyzing the potential fallout, the potential kickback, the potential retaliation.
Right.
We know that he has a group of extremist individuals who follow him. We know that, you know what I mean? So,
that's good.
People think this is just political, but people have to think about this from the security of the nation.
That's true.
We have seen what his followers will do to defend him, right?
Yeah.
So they already attacked the Capitol. They already tried to undo our democracy. What will those same individuals do or similar individuals do if they believe he's about to be arrested, if they believe that he's about to be indicted, if they believe that he's going to be held accountable?
That's a great point.
Not only do we have to consider from, just like an opinion standpoint and politics and elections, when this decision was made, there had to have conversations about national security.
Wow. Wow,
Had
you know
to.
you're right. You know you're right. Because what will they not do in the name of Donald Trump? They want to rename the whole GOP to the white nationalist Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, Christian nationalist. Christian nationalist. That's what she
right.
calls herself. But this is the thing. So people like her will say, "Oh, the Democrats are doing da 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 da." It's the Democrats. Let me tell you something. The Democrats have never told the FBI what to do. Neither have the Republicans. Right now, do I believe that whoever is in power and political structures have influence? Sure. At the end of the day, do I believe that one party can have the former president rated? Nah, I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, the legality and the legal system is what it is.
Right.
And I think that people like to reduce things to these very minute issues as if that's all there is. Listen, everything that we do in this country isn't about the left or the right, the red or the blue, Republicans or Democrats. It's not. At some point, we have to get very serious about the health and well-being of our country.
Amen.
And the security of our country, and not just nationally, but internationally. Internationally, people have been talking about this country for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Not in a good way.
That's
and
true.
Not just our adversaries, but also our allies. And if people don't start to wake up to that and realize, listen, our standing as a superpower has deteriorated greatly over the last 5 or 6 years. And people are paying, in other countries, are paying close attention. And there are people who have been hungry for what we have for a long period of time. And so people who just try to kind of blow this off as some political thing are vastly missing the point. And I think that is something that we talked about after the last January 6th hearing, where one of the national security advisors talked about that very thing. Wow. Pennington, I think was his name. That's and so this was really, really important. And so for me, it makes me hopeful, because after all of those conversations, they still took the action.
That's right.
Okay. Also, I am what I call cautiously optimistic. Because I don't have a tremendous amount of faith in our government and in our legal system that it will do what is necessary, because quite often it has failed us.
That's very true. Shifting gears a little bit, what about Alex Jones? And Alex Jones that was beating his chest. Well, Sandy Hook, nothing happened. That's just a hoax. It's just a hoax. It's just a hoax. And man, this past weekend, I love that judge in his trial. I love that judge. She's like, what's funny? Put that gum out. What did I say? Just because you said it's true doesn't make it true, sir. And the prosecutor got 2 years worth of text messages from him that really nailed him to the wall, if you will.
Well, because they were sent to the wrong people.
Yeah. And the prosecutor couldn't believe. He said, "Sir, do you know what I just got in my inbox? Do you really know what your lawyer just did?" He's like, "No, I don't." But what do you think about the Alex Jones case?
I think that as much as I hate to say this, I think that in the grand scheme of things, it will be insignificant. I think it is not enough to undo the harm that he did.
Yeah. Amen.
I do not think so. We have a habit in this country of focusing on things when they're really, really bad and giving the goodness like one bleep. So, for example, so for me, restitution would have been having Alex Jones for the same number of years that he said it wasn't real. Make him do a podcast for the same number of years that it was real. Make him interview all the parents. Make him go to the grave sites. Make him put up pictures of those babies. Like, if you want to right the wrong that he actually committed, use his influence to actually tell the truth for as long as he told the lie.
Teresa said his facial expression was priceless. I saw that, man. I was like, get it. Danny.
Because the bottom line is this financial stuff, all his ass has to do is file bankruptcy.
That's all. That's exactly
and listen,
right.
He knows enough people with them pinhole papers. They got their money overseas anyway. He knows enough of them folk. So, so this is my thing. If you really want to undo, and you really can't undo, but if you really want to provide a little balance, is for as long as he put out the message that it didn't happen, is as long as fervently as many, like every place. He ought to be on every media outlet there is.
It. Danny, something like this, Danny. uh, my followers, I'm Alex Jones. My followers, I was wrong.
No, my followers, I intentionally lied to you. My followers, I wasn't wrong. I literally chose it. See, to me, when somebody, okay, I was wrong, means maybe I got it wrong. No, you didn't get it wrong. You literally chose to tell a lie. My followers, I put my popularity and I put my paycheck over the health and well-being, not only of the nation, but those parents, their families, that school system. I mean, these parents had to hire security.
Right.
These parents
I was insensitive
because of the words that I said.
Yeah, I was insensitive. I love what you said. That to you, in your mind, in your heart, that's restitution.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, take the paycheck too. Don't get me wrong. Leave his ass as broke as you can. And make him say the right thing for as long as he said the wrong thing. So yeah, that's my opinion.
And I'll say this also, in your opinion, what you really, and when you say sometimes you feel about this country, you got a love-hate relationship with this country.
I do.
In justice space, it looks like our judicial system does the least for the most atrocious things that we do, and do the most for the least offensive things that we do.
Well, you have to understand how the system was set up and designed. The system is not designed to give you justice. The system does not care about the truth. The system is set up for the best attorney who could find the biggest loophole and whatever precedents have been set previously.
Amen.
That's how the system is set up.
Yeah.
And so I think people have to understand that. And whether people like to admit it or not, our prejudices and our isms play a role. And when I say our isms, I mean racism, I mean sexism, I mean ableism, I mean ageism. All of those things play a role. So like you can look historically, and if you look at jury sentencing and what people get, you get the most amount of time for taking the life of a white male. Right. Male lives tend to have more value than female lives.
Wow. Like you say, look at the statistics.
Yes, absolutely. Statistically speaking, women get less. So if you kill a woman, you won't get as much time as if you kill a man. Same thing for children. Despite all of our outcry about being so like pro-life, we really don't do that much when people, abuse children, when people murder children. So, I think you just have to, this is why I talk about all the time. You cannot legislate, and you've heard me say this, you cannot legislate morality.
That's exactly right.
Because number one, morality is subjective. Okay? Yeah. Morality is subjective, and your moral compass is a reflection of your own well-being.
That is so good. And that's a great segue to one of the topics. Good morning, Doug. Doug is in the building. Good morning again, everybody. We're here with my co-host today, and we're going to run to a quick commercial. We're going to just drop a quick commercial real quick, and we're going to come right back and talk about women's reproductive rights. And she just, great segue when she's talking about you'll get less time if you kill a child, just based on how everything's set up. And we preach pro-life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but pro-life really. So y'all hold tight, and we'll be right back.
Hey now, if you'd like to donate today to the Dr. Walter Sims Show, please donate at Cash App, $Walter H. Sims. Yes, that's Cash App, $WalterHSims. That's Cash App, $Walter H. Sims.
Hey guys, I am here with the awesome queen of Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Danny Cook. To her beloved, she's called Tutu. She's got two beautiful grandbabies right there behind her. They are just so good this morning. So proud of them. They're doing a great job. So right before we broke for just a quick second, we segue into, if you harm a child, how well do we really protect our children, Danny? So everybody's still up in arms about Roe versus Wade, pro-life versus pro-choice. Talk to us about women's reproductive right. What should we be upset about?
So I don't like the word should. Nope. Right? Because when we shit on ourselves.
That's
should
right.
Equals judgment, right?
I put that in air quotes, of course.
Yes. But so I think that what people don't realize about women's reproductive rights is that, and specifically about abortion, is that I could say it as simply as saying it's really none of your business, right? And
Okay.
and think about this, there is not a single other group of people that have laws that tell you what you can do with your body.
That's true.
Yeah, tell me a single law that says what a man can or can't do with his body.
To your point, Vice President Kamala Harris, I think she interviewed one of the justices of the Supreme Court, and she asked him, she was like, "Sir, are there any laws regarding men about what they can do with their body?" And I'm paraphrasing some. And he was dumbfounded. He was like, she said, "Sir, I'll ask it again, another way. Are there any laws regarding men and what they can do with their body?" To your point. And he was like, I mean, she was pulling it out of it. He couldn't say no.
It's extremely important for people to realize that. It's extremely important. It is something that says, I don't know, am I not intelligent enough to be able to make this decision? Am I not mature enough to make this decision? Am I not human enough to be able to determine what is best for me and my body and in my life?
Wow.
Right? And I think that people don't realize that. And it's funny because I heard somebody say, well, if women don't want to have babies, they should just get their tubes tied. Well, let me tell you something, my love. There are women who would love to do that and who are told they cannot do it because they're not a certain age.
Wow.
Or they're not a certain age and they don't have enough children. Like literally, there are practitioners that it's common practice, and it's the standard in the medical field that if you're a woman and at 22, you say, I know I don't want any kids, you can't go get your tubes tied. Because they'll say, well, wait, in 10 years from now, you might change your mind. Right? And people don't realize that. People don't realize that. I believe it's in the state of Missouri that right now, if you are pregnant, you can't get a divorce because your husband has a say so over your baby.
Wow.
Like, I think that people need to really start to understand that this is a tool that is being used to take women back a good 50, 60 years. People forget that when I was born in 1973, right? Women could just get credit cards.
Yeah, that's
women could not buy a house on their own without their husbands. You could not have your own business. There are so many things that we could not do, and it was not that long ago. And our short-term memory may be the death of us if we don't get real about some things and understand.
Teresa put in the chat. She said, "Should the government start regulating penile implants?"
Really? Well, this is what I said. I said the same thing. So listen, when people say if you get pregnant, it's God's will. Well, if your goes limp, that's God's will. If it stops working, if you can't get it up no more, that's God's will.
Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid.
I don't know what to tell, but you see what I'm saying? But so this is I have always said that when people say, oh, it's God's will if you get pregnant. Well, it is God's will if your junk stops working.
Hello. And you know, you caused me to think about, and you push back a lot, and we've had some very, very heated conversations about racism and sexism, and you really touched my heart with that conversation because I never really thought about it in that light, and how offensive at times, without unbeknownst, without being intentional about it, how insensitive sometimes we as men are toward women, and how sexist we are sometimes.
I'll give you a great example of this. So I was having a conversation the other day with a man, and he was talking about how optimistic I am or how positive I am. He was like, you just are more positive about humanity than I am. And, based on my experiences. And I said, well, let me just say this. I said, you're assuming that you know what my experiences have been. I have just as much reason, if not more than you, to feel negatively about humanity, right? And what we are going to do or not going to do. I said, but the thing is, I get to choose how I view things. I can see, and I don't ignore the bad in the world. Right. Obviously not. I talk about issues all the time.
Right.
But the difference is I don't take what I see happening in other people's lives and use that to project the filter and the lens through which I view the world, and definitely not to project what's going to happen in the future, because you've heard me say this a time or two. If we don't have hope, we might as well be dead.
That's right.
Like, what are we doing here?
That's right. President Obama, when he ran for office, that was one of the things he hung his hat on. He said, "Yes, we can. We have hope. That's all we have. We have hope."
And that's what's necessary. But so in this conversation, I said, let me give you an example. I said, when I went to New York, very fast paced, very, people honking their horns and get out the road and all of that, right? But my experience, that was going on around me, but my experience from males and from men and women,
right? My
daughter and I people would be like, "Hey, you guys, you look so great." Or people would hold open doors for us, or, whatever. And let me tell you what he did. And it irritated me.
Okay.
Because he said, well, you're going to have a different experience because, you're pretty. Good looking people have a different experience. And I said, so did you just reduce the entire sum of my existence to my looks? Did you just reduce my entire experience in this world to my looks? And he was like, well, I'm just saying, people pay attention to pretty people. And I said, you're right, they do. And I said, so let me just break this down for you and share with you why that is irritating to me.
Okay.
Because this day I was going through a bunch of paperwork for a presentation I had to give on Monday. Okay. And I ended up finding a packet of paper for a guy. When I lived in Charlotte, I actually had to get a permanent restraining order, an order of protection from a gentleman that I'd only met in person once.
Okay.
Because he made a donation to our free hugs and love stuff. And the time that I met him, I had a male go with me.
Okay.
But he became very obsessive and was sending me lots of messages about, wanting to marry me, talking about we're going to go on more of our vacations. We never had a vacation. I don't know you, sir. But it was he would drive around Charlotte, and in these messages that he would send me say, I'm looking for you, right? Where are you? Because he thought I would be uptown doing things with homeless folks and what have you. So anyway, I had found that paperwork earlier in the day from this permanent order and this was just in 2017. And so I had found this paperwork. So I was already a little triggered, right? And so when this male said this thing about, being pretty and da-da-da-da-da, and I said, let me tell you something. I said, do you know that if I'm out in public and a male is looking at me, and he happens to catch my eye, 9 times out of 10, I will look away in less than 3 seconds.
Okay.
It is still very challenging for me to hold the gaze of a male. Still very challenging for me.
Okay.
And I explained, listen, I've experienced sexual abuse, and I was raped in the military and different things like that. And so, and I said, you're right. Sometimes looks do get you attention. Sometimes it's not always the best. So before you assume that pretty is privilege, you need to understand that sometimes pretty is punishment.
Wow.
And I said, but so see, I said, you men always think, oh, pretty girls, da 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 da. And I said, you never think what the cost is to us.
You're right.
When you think about the fact that 3 out of every 4 women, and that's a conservative estimate, 3 out of every 4 women have experienced some form of sexual abuse or sexual assault. I need for men to shut up and start to look past what you see and get to what you see and what our experience really is. And so that gets discounted for so much. We typically do not get looked at as full beings. And it shows up in our laws, and it shows up in our relationships, and it shows up in, do you know how hard it is to get a protective order for a woman? It's not easy. It is not an easy thing. Do you know how hard it is to get those things enforced? Do you know how hard it is for that piece of paper to actually mean anything?
Wow.
So again, so for me, women's reproductive rights is just another symptom of a bigger misogynistic sexism that we have in this, and that we always have. I got to go to see Hamilton when I was in New York.
Right.
And which I loved, by the way. It's phenomenal. Everybody should do it. And when they're singing this song and they're introducing the Schuyler sisters, they're talking about, how they're looking for their husband, da 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 da. And she says, when I become Mrs. Jefferson, I'm going to have women be included in the all men are equal the second time around. Okay. Right? So it's understanding that all men are created equal did not include us. It did not include us. And in many, many ways, it still does not include us.
Okay. And the us you're talking about at this moment in time are women.
Yeah, I'm talking about women, and then we can go ahead and expound upon that. Women,
Right.
brown people, black people. We can keep
Right.
going.
That's right. That's right.
But at the same day, but check this out. You got certain privileges before I did as a woman.
Okay. Even as a black male.
Even as a black male.
Okay. And just conversation with you offline. I'm just more sensitive to that because women, you guys go through some stuff. Y'all go through some stuff.
Who's the name of I forget the name of the rapper, but he was talking about if you want to know what it's like to be a woman as a male, here's what you do. Go to a bank, let everybody see you go in the bank, let everybody see you put $1 million in your backpack, and then walk around with it.
Wow.
That's how it is for women to walk around with a vagina every day.
Wow.
There you go.
It's big. Danny, and I love what you say. You're cautiously optimistic. I am too. I'm very optimistic. I just, I look at every day as a challenge, and I remain hopeful, and I look forward to these conversations because you are such a wealth of knowledge and information, and you've been through stuff. And when we did that mastermind webinar we did for the very first time, and you were just outlining and enumerating the things that you have gone through, I was speechless, and you don't wear it as a badge of honor, and by that I mean you're not a victim. You don't stay in victim mode. You know what I'm saying? And you don't say, "Woe is me." Look at all that I've gone through, and y'all feel sorry for me. You're a very strong woman. You're accomplishing a whole lot of things, and so that the last 5 minutes that we have together, what's next for you? What are you working on? I follow your Instagram, so I see when you're working on pictures and stuff, and you're a great artist too. You're so gifted.
God love my heart. I'm not on Instagram as much as I should be. There I go shitting on myself. But one of the reasons why I'm on Facebook a little bit more is because, number one, IG people mostly are there for entertainment and to relax and what have you. And I'm a pretty heavy individual. So, that tends to be my focus. And I go on Twitter every now and again. But most of the folks on Twitter are either already on board or, there's no hope. So the Facebook tends to be the land where we can have meaningful discussions, and I can kind of prod people a little bit to pay attention. So what's next? So we are about this close to setting a date for the filming of the talk show. It will be the fall of, So the Danny Cook Show will be filming at Encore Productions here, Encore Film and Music Studio here in Atlanta. You can go to thedannycookshow.com.
Okay.
And you can get tickets to be in the studio audience. You can become a corporate sponsor. We are still looking for the right corporate sponsors to be a part of things. And you can be an independent individual donor. Every dollar does help. What we have done is put up the entire production cost, so that it's very transparent. You can see how much we need to raise to put the show together. The film studio isn't charging for the studio; it's literally just for the manpower and the set design and all that stuff to make it happen. Okay. So that's what's immediately next. The other thing that's next is I've started doing my audio podcast again. I put up a new episode last week. One will be up this week. And so if you are not subscribed to the Rantings of Danny, it's on Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, whatever. Okay. You can go and subscribe there. So I'm starting to do that weekly. And then for my coaching, I am starting a second round. So I'm doing a women's group coaching group. Last time, I'm only taking 5 women. 5 seems to be the number that works the best. And so we're going to start that on August the 26th. If you are interested in that, you can hit me up on Facebook. Facebook, YouTube, IG, I am The Danny Cook. On Twitter, I am Real Danny Cook. Okay. And email is thedannycook@protonmail.com because that's my secure email.
That is so good. That is good to see. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Hey,
Thank you for having me.
and I missed you. I know you've been busy. August went by fast, or July went by fast, and we're in August now. And
well, that's because I had COVID for 3 weeks.
that's exactly
17
right.
days.
That's exactly right. So, what did you? How did I forget that, guys? Oh my goodness, she was down. I messaged her. We saw each other because I had to preach at one of my friends' church.
Sunday.
We had lunch together at one of her favorite spots. She sent out this global message, guy. I got COVID, can't talk. I'll talk to y'all when I can talk to y'all. 17 days later, she was like, I saw her smile on Instagram. I'm like, and I would message her and I check on her, and she messaged everybody on Instagram. She said, guys, I'm better today. Don't wish this on anybody. I'm still alive. I'm like,
I don't know if I was that dramatic.
I embellish.
Yes, good Lord. Yeah. I was like, I don't think I said I was alive, but okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I did. My fever was 102.1.
Wow.
COVID was not fun for me. And, but I have autoimmune diseases and stuff.
Okay.
That's always been something. And I think where here's the thing. I was vaccinated and boosted, but my booster was in December.
Okay.
So when I got COVID, it was 6 or 7 months after my last booster.
Okay.
And the BA variant is pretty what am I trying to say? Easily caught, transmissible.
Okay. Transmissible. So very contagious.
So and the thing is, I'm just gonna be frank. I could have done more while I was sick, and I did not, because my body needed to rest. There were times when I slept 11 or 12 hours, which anybody who knows me knows that I don't do.
Yeah. But, and what is the fourth agreement? What does the fourth agreement say?
Oh, always do your best, and this is what I tell people. So around the fourth agreement. The fourth agreement in the Don Miguel Ruiz's book is always do your best. And here's the biggest distinction for people to remember. Is no matter what it is always your best.
That's right.
So on a day that I wake up and I have COVID and I have a fever and I have a headache that feels like my head is in a vice grip, my best is going to look different than on a day that I wake up. Now, let me put that in normal terms. A day that I wake up and there's money in the bank and I got a gig and everybody's healthy and my body is not hurting as much. Right. My best that day is going to look different on a day when those things aren't there. And so this is what people have to understand. No matter what it is in that moment, it is your best, because if we could do better, we would do better.
That's exactly right. And like Doug said in the chat, there are times you got to put yourself first. And for those 70 days, you were taking care of DANI. We're glad that you're so all right.
There were very few people that I tended to during that time.
Amen. So glad that you're better. So listen, guys, you'll be back with us in 4 weeks, and we definitely have a lot to talk about. Thank you for being here. So, Danny, we appreciate you so much, and love on those grandbabies for us, all right?
Oh, you ain't got to tell me to do that.
Boom. Well, you give them a hug for me. How about that?
Will do. Take care. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Hey, guys, we're going to run to a quick break, and we will be right back. And this is National Golf Month, too, by the way. All right, Teresa. Take that. I'll take that. Happy Motivation Monday, everybody. I'm Dr. Sims, America's #1 personal development expert. In that collage of clips you just watched, golf is predicated on consistency. And one of the things that I'm working on now that I'm, working on my swing again and playing again is consistency. Your setup has to be the same all the time. You know what I'm saying? And so the better golfers are more consistent. Dr. Sims, what in the world does that have to do with motivation on this Monday morning? Well, I believe one of your greatest challenges is being consistent. You'll start something, you stop. You start something, you stop. You start something, you stop. You start something, you stop. And then
You look at your colleagues or your friends or even your haters, and they're a little bit further along than you are, and you scratching your head and you're frustrated and you wonder why you're not consistent. See, we can't be perfect, but we can be consistent. So what's the key of consistency, Dr. Sam? Being consistent. You are so silly, Dr. Sam. Oh, just be consistent. Just do it. I love Nike. I am a Nike dude. I don't wear Adidas. I don't wear Reebok. I don't wear New Balance. I don't wear Under Armour. Just do it. And so I can help you with that. I am a life coach. I can help you with that. I watch a lot of YouTube videos about golf. One of my good friends, Joaquin Loper, has a golf instructor. And so a coach can help you with things like consistency. You need a life coach. I believe everybody needs a personal development budget. Maybe that's another video. But you need to spend some of your funds on hiring your life coach to help you with consistency. Because if you say you want better, if you say you want to go higher, you got to do what you got to do what you got to do to go higher and do better. And that's how a life coach me. So you call me right now. I have room in my coaching program just for you. All right. I'm full, but I make room for you because it's just that important to me for you to be all that you can be. Amen. Call me today and I can help you be consistent. And remember, if you stay high on life, life is going to stay high.
Well, listen, guys, thank y'all for being here today. Thank you to everybody in the chat room. Thank you, Danny, for being with us today. We have so much to talk about. Let's remain hopeful. We send positive energy. I was in prayers up for Teresa and Ron. We pray that this COVID will hurry up and get gone. And we just pray for you guys for a speedy recovery. Yes, Teresa, Danny is a super artist, and she does well with everything she does. Again, guys, stay abreast of things. But like we talked about the second agreement, don't take things too personal. Don't get too high, don't get too low. And everything's going to be okay. In the big scheme of things, everything's going to be okay. As Gandhi said, you be the change you want to see in the world. Be intentional about everything that you do, and let's show each other grace. Be gracious. Be extra kind. I taught my sons when they were little, be extra kind. Go that extra mile because you don't know how it's going to come back. Somebody did something nice to me the other day that they didn't have to. And that's because I put so much positive energy out. I sowed so many good seeds. You know what I'm saying? And somebody did something super nice for me the other day. And I just nodded my head. I tipped my imaginary hat. I was like, okay. And I just admonish you. Show grace and show love and be nice. And I know that's so cliche, but I'm telling you, it pays off in the long run. Okay? And listen, and do something for you today. You know, take time for you today. All right. One of the things I coach some of my clients on that are that's stressed out and got a whole lot going on. I say, and I gave this in class last Thursday. Carve out 2 hours a week for you because she's pretty busy, a young mother, working on a new career, etc. And I say, out of 168 hours, take time for YOU. All right. Take time for you. Because you're at the center of everything that you do. And you have to take time for you and make sure you're good. Last month was Minority Mental Health Month. It ought to be a mental health every month, every week, every day. Because you got to take care of your mental. And whatever that looks like for you. Danny says she meditates. Danny said that she stays grounded. I play golf. One of the things I do to help keep me centered, I play golf. I picked it up again. I'm having a good time. Well, some days. Okay. But do whatever you do to stay grounded. I love my clients. I love people. I love teaching my class. I love helping people. I had a relationship call Sunday evening. Oh man, it was good. It was really good. So I stay in my purpose. I know my why. Do you know your why? That's another conversation. We'll talk about that the next time on the show. Okay. But we're here every Tuesday. We're here the Daily Talk Show. Tonight, I'm doing a special edition of the Blue Table Talk for Men. We usually do Wednesday night, but I got revival at my church Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So tonight on TikTok, we'll be live with Blue Table Talk for Men. All right. And I love you. And you can't do a thing about it. Okay. We may not know each other, but I love you. Heart hands, as the young folks do. And remember, if you stay high on life, life's going to stay high on you.
All right. So